Hello and welcome back to Danish lessons with the missing N. This lesson we'll be looking at basic sentence structure. So having now covered, basic pronunciation, it's time to learn how to actually say some things. So we'll take the most easy example there is and then work our way upwards from there. So in this lesson we will look at sentences starting with I am and I have. Now in Danish that would be jeg er and jeg har. Jeg er, jeg har. Starting with the first one. Jeg er. Let's pick the 6 most common states of being in Denmark. So you've got jeg er en dreng, which means I'm a boy. Jeg er en pige, which means I'm a girl. Jeg er en mand, which means I'm a man. Jeg er en kvinde, which means I'm a woman. Jeg er en snemand, which means I'm a snowman. And finally, jeg er en kartoffel, which means I'm a potato. Oh good, my slow clap processor made it into this thing. So, a few words on the pronunciation of these things. So, dreng is easy enough once you get the hang of it. Pige, worth noticing that this is a silent G pretty much, or at least it's pronounced a bit like the Y and I. So, it's pige, pige. Mand, you've got a silent D here. Kvinde, you've got another silent D. Snemand, you've got another silent D. And notice that these are all after an N, and none of them are pronounced at all. It's mand, kvinde, snemand. And finally, kartoffel, well, that's just kartoffel. You've got an R which isn't really pronounced at all, so it's just kartoffel. You'll notice that these are all nouns. Jeg er could also be followed by an adjective. So let's have some common adjectives, or some useful ones at least. Jeg er engelsk. Engelsk, which means I am English. Jeg er glad, which means I'm happy, or glad if you will. Jeg er træt, which means I'm tired. Jeg er syg, which means I'm sick. Jeg er blå, which means I'm blue, not the mood, just the colour. And jeg er fuld, which means not I'm full, but it means I'm drunk. Again, you've got a silent D here. What else is there to say? This is a soft D, so that's the one that's really hard to pronounce. It would be glad. Engelsk, træt, syg, blå. I'm writing these quickly, so you may not be familiar with Danish handwriting. This that you see here is the AE, that one of these extra letters that you have in Danish. So A combined with an E. And this is the A with a circle above it. There's also the O with a line through it, but that hasn't appeared yet, has it? No, it hasn't. Yeah, so you can follow jeg er with adjectives as well. Let's move on to the other one. Jeg har, I have. And let's take some common examples of things you can have. Jeg har en cykel. I have a bike. That's an N. Sorry about my handwriting. Jeg har en bil, which means I have a car. Move that right. Jeg har to sko, which means I have 2 shoes. And jeg har en grammophonplade, which means I have an LP. If you don't know what an LP is, well, I guess we're all a little bit too young to know what an LP is. Look it up, Google is your friend. And then, so these are all things you can have, but jeg har is also often used for other types of expressions, just generally to express how you're feeling. So is jeg er, obviously. But the two examples I had in mind are jeg har ondt. Note again, we've got a silent D here. O-N-D-T, ondt, which means I'm in pain. And jeg har det godt, which means I'm well. This is a thing you might often want to say if someone asks you how you are, but we will look at that at a later point. This is just some examples of things you can have or expressions you can say that begin with the phrase jeg har. Note here that this word is pronounced det. We'll get to it in more detail. This is a silent T because that's just Danish for you. There are very few silent T's in Danish. I would be tempted to say that this is the only silent T. But it's a very, very common word, so you need to know this. This word is det. Jeg har det godt. Jeg har ondt. I'm in pain. I'm good. That's about all that we'll cover in this lesson. I know this wasn't very much, but we'll start simple. Maybe just one thing to point out, because that will be useful later on. This is the subject in the sentence, and this is the verb. I'll indicate those by crosses and circles, and what comes next is typically called the object. And remember that if you want to try making sentences yourself, you could just replace the subject and the object by any noun at all. So by all means, go on Wiktionary or whatever Danish dictionary you prefer and find some Danish nouns, and you can just swap them in there and make your own sentences. If you want to check how your pronunciation is, then by all means, film yourself doing it and send the videos my way, and I will give you some feedback on how well you're doing. I think that will be all for this time. This is themissingn signing out. How am I going to finish these? This is themissingn saying bye. I should have said that in Danish. This is themissingn saying hi hi.